Do we do a mic check? Oh, there. It's picking it up. Okay, hi. Can you guys hear us now?
All right, can you hear us now?
So hi Brain Bug, hi Paul Camish, hi Mr. Shadow Kitty, who played beautiful guitar earlier today.
That's got it,
Oh,
yes.
thank you.
Okay.
Okay, great.
One of these days I'll remember to check that setting before we go live.
Dad.
Welcome! We are live here on the Junk Shop Library channel. I'm here for Couples Stream with my beautiful wife, Julie LaVoice, who joins us
Hi.
from the Wine and Reason channel. And we will today be talking about just a multitude of things.
But mainly abortion, so strap on.
Yeah.
Strap on. Strap in.
Strap in.
Strap in.
Just before we get
Strap
going,
on, go ahead and make the jokes. It's fine. I get it.
Before we jump right in, I begin with the standard disclaimer that this channel is absolutely not safe for children.
No.
I know nobody in the chat right now who's speaking is of children age, but if you're watching after the fact, you got to go find something else to do, kids.
Yes.
This is big boy and big girl time.
Yeah, this is marked as not for children, so get the fuck out of the room if you're a child. Thank you.
Mistress Angelica swings into the chat just in time to catch the strap on.
Oh,
All right.
Fantastic.
We're off to a flying fun time.
Well, if you're gonna pull an Errol Flynn and swing in, you have to catch the strap on. I think it's a rule. Anyway. All right, so we did start a little early tonight, guys. Sorry about that. We had reasons. So that no, we're not going to get into. Basically, I read an article from on Forbes's website, Forbes, the magazine, Forbes. And the title of that article is States that use COVID-19 to ban abortion increase our risks, hardships, and fear nationwide. And that article was written by senior contributor Janet Burns on April 12th of this year. And if this article is anything to go by, Janet Burns is one hell of a journalist. It's well cited, it's well written. In articles that are written and published online these days, you see I used to be an English teacher, so I can't help it. The mistakes kind of jump out at me. And in this entire long, intricate article, I found one that was an obvious typo. It wasn't like, I don't know how to spell something, or I don't know what kind of punctuation to use. It was just a full-on typo. And so props to Janet Burns, great writer, great journalist. Okay. So, funny thing, if you didn't know, medical experts, the majority of them, according to this article, actually deem abortion and other care found at women's clinics to be essential health care for women. Who knew? Oh, wait, everyone with a uterus did. And damn it, I came in earlier today. I told you I was gonna try really hard not to use gender exclusory language, because this isn't just an issue for women in the gender sense. This is an issue for anyone who has a uterus. Okay, so I'm not trying to be exclusory. If you are a trans man and you happen to have a uterus,
or if you're non-binary,
and have a uterus, yeah, this is about you. If you love anyone who has a uterus, this is about you. So this is a human issue. It's a gender issue, and it is a sex issue in that it deals with sexual health care and sexual wellness. Okay, most specifically for people with uteri and those who care about them. Okay. Oh, uteruses and uteri, either one is correct. I looked it up. Okay, so.
I did not know that.
That's so cool. Aw.
You do indeed. Learn
5 years.
every day.
5 years, and we're still learning new things about each other. Okay, or from each other. All right, so. Now, the point here, it's essential, and also these same medical experts have explicitly warned politicians not to do what some of them are doing, which is they're using the power that they have, and frankly, I want them to have the power that they have during this pandemic because it's important, but they're using the power that they have to deem certain services and businesses non-essential to shut them down so as not to spread the virus. But in so doing, some lawmakers in some states are putting women's clinics that also provide abortion services under the non-essential umbrella. And what the medical community is saying is this is dangerous. These are absolutely essential. And I can tell you a story from my own town. Choices of Memphis recently had on their website what it has a happy ending, but it initially was a heartbreaking story about a young woman who found herself in the midst of this pandemic pregnant, and we know that it's and did not want to be pregnant, was not in any position to be pregnant, had already decided to terminate the pregnancy, and then discovered that in her home state of Texas she no longer could, because the clinic was shut down because it had been deemed non-essential by the Texas governor. So she was calling everywhere she could, and she describes this in her own words on the Choices of Memphis website, if you want to check it out. And she said that she finally called Choices of Memphis, and they said, yes, we will take you. We'll get you in as soon as you can get here. And she drove from Texas to Tennessee to get the procedure she needed. And she was, I mean, having to make that decision is stressful enough. B, having to make it during a pandemic where being pregnant puts you more at risk of dying from the virus that is the cause of the pandemic. Oh my God, way scarier. And C, what the actual fuck, Texas? Stop it. But Texas is not our only offender here. According to Forbes, states pursuing this dangerous legislation include Texas, Ohio, Iowa, Alabama, Oklahoma, Indiana, North Carolina, Kansas, and Kentucky. I'm actually shocked that Tennessee is not on this list, but I'm also incredibly grateful because right now we have one clinic that services West Memphis, Arkansas, Mississippi, and all of the state of Tennessee, as well as apparently Texas on occasion right now, because the Texas legislature, to its credit, a part of the legislature is fighting this, and it's been flipping back and forth. So there are literally days when a clinic is open in Texas and days when they get a phone call saying they have to stop everything and shut down. Now how does that work? Like, if you're in mid-procedure, how the fuck does that work? I assume, hopefully you finish. I mean, what else can you do? I mean, it would endanger the person's life if you didn't, right? I don't know.
I would think so.
Yeah, and yes. I mean, we're not doctors and don't take medical advice from us, but this is just disturbing information. Like, reading that account of a doctor in Texas, like literally picking up the phone and being told she had to shut her whole clinic down and didn't know when she'd be able to reopen. It's like, how do you turn those patients away? And another important thing is a lot of those patients are there because they want to prevent having to make the choice of whether or not to have an abortion. They're there to get contraception, whether hormonal birth control or condoms or what have you. They're there to, I mean, I used to go there to get the depot shot when I was in college and couldn't afford, for those of you not, good thing orgs like, go ahead.
Sorry, it's just, she says good thing orgs like NARAL, which is not one I'm familiar with.
Yeah, me neither. I'm sorry.
If you'll spell it out in the chat, I'll pull that back up again as well.
Yeah, and thank you.
Hey, Amiga Nuts, and welcome,
hey, Amiga
Angie.
Nuts. Hey, Angie.
We having us a fairly serious stream tonight.
We are, and I'm talking a little shit about.
Grab a drink and buckle in, y'all.
I'm talking a little shit about Angie's state, but I did not dox her. She has said that many times.
And about many others too.
And many others. So here's the list one more time.
It ain't just the Lone Star.
It's not just the Lone Star. Of states who are trying to make women's clinics that also provide abortion services non-essential and therefore shut them down during the pandemic, where, again, it's more dangerous to have coronavirus if you're pregnant. Texas, Ohio, Iowa, Alabama, Oklahoma, Indiana, North Carolina, Kansas, and Kentucky. Okay, those are the ones. And frankly, I'm shocked my state's not in here. I said that before, but I still am. All right. So,
Mr. Shadow Kitty's got it.
oh, he's got it. Thank you,
National
Mr. Shannon.
Abortion Rights Action League.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Shadow Kitty. And guys, I know we're all hurting right now.
I'm not familiar with that organization, but if they're doing half of what their name says they are,
Yeah.
they're doing good work.
Let's do it. If they take or need donations, or if you want to donate to Choices of Memphis and Planned Parenthood here in Memphis, please, if you can,
Yeah.
or if there's one still in your area, please do that.
There's that.
I know it's hard times for everybody. I myself am on the first week of a 90-day unpaid furlough from work. Don't worry, I get unemployment. We're going to be okay, but it's going to be tight, and so I'm saying it feels weird to me to ask you guys to donate when I can't right now. So that's my caveat. If you can't, there will be better times. So anyway, yeah, so basically, state lawmakers are trying to take a decision that should be between a woman and her doctor and make it for her, essentially, which is forced pregnancy and forced labor and forced birth. Because also keep in mind that a lot of these same states have passed laws where if you're more than so many weeks pregnant, and I think in Texas right now it's still 22 weeks. Alabama is absolutely the worst offender of this. I think it's something insane, like 6 to 8 weeks.
6 or 8.
It's like you don't even know you're pregnant yet, and then you test positive on the test, and you can be too late.
You're stuck with it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's yeah. You know what though? Knowing that you exist in Texas, Angie, makes me feel better about the whole thing. Because you can't be the only cool, badass chick there. All right. So, yeah. So, of these states, orders to limit abortion were issued in April in Texas, Alabama, Iowa, Ohio, and Oklahoma. Good news is that courts in Iowa, Alabama, Oklahoma, and Ohio have sided with patients and abortion providers. This is kind of awesome. Placing temporary, this is a quote. I should have said that quote. Placing temporary blocks on states, restricting and or fining them during the COVID-19 crisis, end quote. So that's very cool. So some of the courts have not lost their minds, and they're going, hey, no. You can't take away an essential medical service in the middle of a medical emergency that's global. That's not okay. So yay, good. Yeah, according to the New York Post, Texas Governor Greg Abbott's order to deem abortion clinics non-essential was recently upheld by a Texas court with, quote, an exception if delaying the procedure would place the pregnancy beyond the state's 22-week abortion cutoff. So, yeah, it's interesting, right? I'm not sure how that works because we don't know how long this pandemic is going to last. So basically, if you get to 21 weeks, do you get to go in and have the procedure? Or
that's
what?
That's what it sounds like.
It is. And so you've got to have,
documentation.
Yeah. You have to have the test dated and sealed or notarized or something. How does that work? Okay.
Paul Camish says, this is mad. We just don't have an issue with it in the UK.
Thank you, because you're sensible.
So many countries don't, but oh my God, we're hung up on it over here.
Oh, it's insane. People call it, they equate it to the Shoah, the Holocaust, which I find deeply offensive. And they call it a genocide on the unborn. What the fuck? What does that even,
Oh, Mr. Shadow Kitty knows Narl because he marched in D.C. one time in support of Now and Narl with
well done.
a million other people.
Oh, bless your heart. Well done,
That's
Mr. Shadow
amazing.
Kitty. That is awesome. Right on. Thank you. Thank you so much.
We've got Mistress Angelica saying hashtag vote Abbott out.
Yes.
Yeah, sounds like that needs to be done.
Yeah, we need to, I think, Miss Angie, can you talk to some people?
Yeah.
Get Governor Abbott out
Make
of there.
it happen.
Now look, our Governor Lee ain't great either, but he's not pulling this garbage right now, so I can say that for him. Okay, so just in case you're not already screaming at the Paul. Well, Paul wasn't screaming; he was being very, very nice about it. But screaming at the obvious. So I'm sorry, screaming the obvious at the screen that adding interstate travel to the stress of needing an abortion, uh, and to obtain access to it is going to risk more exposure to the virus. Yes, you're right, it does. If you have to drive from Texas to Tennessee to get a procedure that you absolutely need during a pandemic, you are exponentially raising your exposure to the virus. Because
Not just from the wind while
Mhm.
you're driving, but at every gas station you stop in, every McDonald's you make a pit stop in.
Every time you have to pee
Jesus.
because you're newly freaking or throw up because you're newly
Mm-hmm.
pregnant and trying to make that condition go away. Yeah, so it's bad. You can't shelter in place if you have to drive through 3 states to get the health care you need. That's
Yeah.
just a fact. So a bit of good news from NPR is that the American Medical Association filed a brief in the Texas case, as did 18 states. So we're not all nuts.
Right.
Just some of us, in support of abortion providers. Now, according to NPR, these briefs were filed before most states began shelter-in-place practices because doctors and medical experts figured a lot of red states would actually do this shit, and they were right, unfortunately.
Wow.
It's almost sad that they had to be that prepared, but I'm so grateful that they were that
Yeah,
prepared.
we can see where
Right?
this is going. We
Yeah.
need to file an amicus brief, and we need to do it now.
Ooh, look at you bringing the legal language. So hot. Okay, yeah, absolutely. And yes, and
Yeah, Paul's right. Why is it such a big issue in the USA, he says? Well,
religion.
it didn't used to be.
Yeah, that's fair. Actually, it actually was not.
But during the moral majority days, the conservatives needed a wedge issue to make sure they grabbed a certain amount of the conservatives and the evangelicals and the rednecks, and they settled on abortion is murder, and they created an issue where there hitherto had not been one.
Yeah, before then, it was. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
No, I was just going to interject
Yeah.
that before then, people had they had little bumper stickers on their cars, abortion stops a beating heart, but I mean, even that wasn't really common until the mid 80s. And before then, it was basically like a matter of conscience or a matter of religion. Like, I was raised in a Catholic family. Catholics are pro-life. We're anti-death penalty, anti-abortion, and then they might, vote accordingly. But it wasn't a make or break. They were not single issue voters on this one thing. I'm sorry, please.
And so, just so many churches like the ones we think of now as being so rabidly anti-choice, the Southern Baptists and various splinter groups of Protestants and stuff, they were all in favor of abortion because they don't like being told what to do from on high.
Yep. They didn't want the government in their personal family business.
Pat Robertson and some of those kind of folks were able to recast it as an issue of eternal consequence, and now here we are 40 fucking years later, and it's still this huge divisive wedge issue that you can't even mention in polite company.
Oh no, it's when I told my mother, Paul, just to give you an illustrative anecdote, I told my Catholic mother that I was pro-choice. Now, in my own head, here I am, I'm like 18. I've been having sex for like a year. She doesn't know this, or she didn't know at the time. But I was being very careful because it was the 90s and we were all terrified. But I was being careful on a couple of fronts. But yeah, so we're in the car and we're discussing, and she's talking about the Right to Life movement, which is a Catholic church, and it might even be and what's communical? What is it? The thing when different churches get together and do shit together. Damn it, I know this word. It's going to come to me in a minute. Anyway. Ecumenical. Thank you. Ecumenical thing. I'm not sure if Right to Life is just Catholic or if it's ecumenical, meaning different denominations are involved. But anyway, that's a big, pro-life organization in the States. And my mom was talking about some Right to Life fundraiser that she was helping with or something. And I said, oh, well, I respect that you're helping with something you believe in, but I'm pro-choice, Mom. I don't think, I think that's something that should be, and at the time I was still a theist, so I said, I think that's a question that should be between a woman or her God and her doctor. Like, I don't see why that's a matter of law. I don't think it should be a matter of law. And my mother, we were in a drive-through, so she didn't have to actually stop the car, but she did. She stopped the car and looked at me and went, "You're pro-abortion?" With all the blinking. All the blinking I'm doing right now. Yeah. And I was like, no. And I was devastated because my little 18-year-old heart, I mean, now if I got pregnant fight, no problem. I'd go get that taken care of. Done deal. Because I am not meant to be anybody's mama. I'm 42 years old. I know this about myself now. But when I was 18, I was like, well, I don't, I didn't think it was a choice I would make, but I didn't ever want it to not be available for someone. Because I always thought, if a woman needed that, she needed it, and her reasons were her own, and it's none of your damn business. And it's certainly not, the government's business or the law's business. But it was so hard to explain all of that to my mother without saying, no, I'm not pro-abortion. I was so shocked at that. And then recently I actually said in a Facebook post that I was pro-abortion because I was pissed off. And I was like, what solution to anything ever necessitated more people? But I did get I got a little hate for that comment, and I deserved it. It was a harsh way to say something. Okay, so what's going on? What's Amiga Nut saying and everybody?
It says, this is just sheer stupidity. Are these the same type of people who protest the shelter in place because they cannot go to church?
Oh.
The COVID-idiots.
Now, luckily...
there's some overlap.
There's some overlap, yeah. There's definitely some demographic overlap. Luckily, my parents and I'm... Paul's
got it right there. It's pro-choice, not pro-abortion.
Thank you, sir. Yes, it's pro-choice, not pro-abortion. Thank you very much. Absolutely.
Just like the pro-life people are not pro-life, they're pro-birth.
No, we just actually
and then once baby takes its first breath, they don't give a single flying fart about it.
Well, anyway, yeah, that was kind of antithetical to Paul's point, but yes, yeah, I agree. Okay, so yeah, Paul made a great point. It's pro-choice, not pro-abortion.
Did I misspeak?
No. What you did is you did to them what they do to us. Like when they say that pro-choice is pro-abortion, and we tell them you're not pro-life, you're pro-birth, because you want to stop food stamps so that children could starve. You don't give a fuck about anybody once they're out of the womb. You just don't want them terminated in the womb. And also, funny fact, in the States,
I stand by that hyperbole.
Funny fact, in the States, most people who are pro-life in terms of being anti-abortion are pro-death penalty as well. And most people who are pro-choice are anti-death penalty. So it's except for that Catholic sliver, like I said, that slides in where they're just like pro-life everywhere. And also have as many babies as you can to breed out the competition. That was supposed to be my job. Fuck that.
Not that we have opinions, y'all.
No, not in the least. And if we didn't, you wouldn't be here. So yeah, it's
right. Imagine if this was a makeup channel. Y'all wouldn't be here watching old Junk Shop experiment with eyeliner.
I would. I like guys in eyeliner. I lived just enough in the 80s to appreciate eyeliner on boys a lot. Yeah. Thank you, The Cure. Okay. Yeah. So, unless I can get them, yeah. No, it's fair. One good thing I can actually say, and I was so happy to hear this. We were on a Zoom graduation party for one of our nieces because she just got her nursing degree, but they couldn't actually have the actual graduation. So, yeah, we're so proud. And guyliner is sexy.
I've started something with this eyeliner.
I agree.
Thing.
It's
I did not anticipate winding up this particular clockwork gnome.
I will never tell you what to do with your face, but I've been telling you for years. It is sexy. Anyway, so we get on there, and everybody starts talking about their churches because we're the only heathens in the family, and that's fine. Yeah. But the one thing that everybody said was that all of their services were online. and this was right before Easter, so we were like, oh, thank you, religious people, for being sensible. I don't know who the bishop is now. Actually, yes, I do. I know him personally, which is odd. He knows my family. It's a thing. Anyway, I'm not gonna say his name, but anyway, the current bishop here for the Catholics has closed all the parishes for right now. He's like, we're not having church right now. They're all having church online. So that's a beautiful thing. And so I had to kind of talk my mom down a little bit around on a Holy Thursday or whatever, right before Easter, and
Maundy Thursday.
Yeah, there we go. Is it Holy Saturday?
Yes.
There we go. Holy Saturday.
Maundy Thursday, Good Friday, Holy Saturday.
Ugh. All my catechism is going, some of it, not all of it, but some of it's leaking out. It's being replaced by different information.
By information that could actually be useful for something.
Yes. Like this, like knowing what your politicians
people are heathens. Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
I'm damn proud of it too.
Yep. Yeah, we're bad kids. We drink, we smoke, we fucking don't impregnate anybody. I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry. That was a little excessive. Oh, you poor people. All right. Well, I'll reel it in. I'll reel it back in. Oh my God, you guys, this is so sad. This is the last of the wine in the library. I got to make the weekly grocery run tomorrow. So that's it.
Shelter in place sucks.
Oh, it does. But it's the smart thing to do when we support it.
It is. It is.
Stay the fuck home. Okay, so let me just make sure I didn't miss anything because I got a little excited. NPR making everything worse and harder for women and their health care providers economically and emotionally, as well as compromising women's health by increasing their risk of exposure to the virus. So what can we do about it? Oh, this is important. I'm glad I didn't skip this. What can we do about it? 1, find out if you can help the Center for Reproductive Rights, or CRR. It currently has several cases going on in several states to fight recent bans. That's according to Forbes. Also, support the Planned Parenthood Federation of America and the Lawyering Project? That can't be right. Lawyering? Did I write that right? If you can. If the Lawyering Project is a thing and I wrote that down correctly, that just does not feel like that could be correct. Anyway. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, if you're like me and you can't give money, try raising awareness, because that's what I decided to do, because can't give money right now. So trying to raise some awareness. Or even better, call the state legislators, email them, let them know that this is important and it's a concern, particularly the ones in your district, the ones for whom you are a constituent. They take that shit more seriously if you can actually vote for them.
Yeah. So
please, please, please do that. Just explain to them how essential healthcare for people with uteri and sexual wellness care is for all of us, because we're roughly half the population. So, yeah. All right. I think that's about, and then I did make a note that, pregnant women and infants are at a higher risk from COVID-19, so we may need to make sure that contraception remains available. There is a wonderful woman and I'm totally going to space on her name right now. It's happening. Yep, I'm spacing on her name. Dagnabbit, I'm sorry. I'll tweet about her when we get out of here. But there's a wonderful woman on Instagram who does sex ed stuff, because she was taught a little bit more than I was, but she most people who are educated in the American public education system, or God forbid the private education system, we weren't really taught sex ed. A lot of the courses are abstinence only. All I remember from sex ed is pet your dog, not your date. So I bought a copy of The Joy of Sex, and I looked up what condoms were, because I knew me.
Angie says one of her local reps blocked her on Facebook. Is that legal?
Can he do that? Or she do that? Look at me assuming it's a he. That was sexist. But
I mean, I know they've judged that Trump can't block people on Twitter because it's an official means of communication.
Since he made it so.
But if it was a private, I guess if it was his private Facebook page, I don't know.
If it was his private Facebook page, that's fine. If not, I don't think that's okay. Like if it's his professional, this is me reaching out to the voters thing. I mean, unless you threatened him, which I doubt you did, I don't think he can legally block you.
Brainbug says, "Did you see the clowns marching on the Capitol in Michigan?"
No.
Oh my God, yes.
Did you see this? What is this? What is happening?
Idiots, not literal clowns.
Oh, I was terrified for a second. Okay, cool. Go ahead.
A bunch of, pardon my French, fucking rednecks descended on the state capitol in Michigan to protest the stay-at-home order.
Oh my
They
God.
drove up there in a convoy and then pressed up against the glass like people upon people upon people, shouting "Lock her up" at the mayor or governor or whatever she is.
Ugh,
And
gross.
they
Bunch
were
of red hat wearing motherfuckers.
and they were literally wearing red hats and brandishing Confederate flags and Nazi flags.
Great. And white supremacy. This is what happens when we elect a bully into office, y'all. This is what happens when you elect a privileged white bully into the highest office of the land. People suddenly feel free to show their asses everywhere. Okay.
She says he kept posting religious crap and she kept calling him out on it.
Good for you.
Good
darling.
for you.
Separation of church and state. You build up that wall. Keep the establishment clause a thing. It's important.
Yes.
Although to go back to Paul's early question about like how this is difficult for people in the UK to understand, because our cultures are very similar. I mean, you know, we're derived from y'all essentially. You know, it's, unless you're indigenous, and sorry to y'all, you really got fucked. But that's the understatement of several centuries right there. But anyway, but yeah, like, you know, American culture and UK culture have, you know, we've been allies for a long time, you know, stuff. Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff there. And this is one of those things that, that I certainly know people I've known from the UK, and I've heard other people from the UK talk about this. This is the one part where they look at America and they're like, what now? Huh? You know, unless they're from Ireland, and then they're like, oh yeah, well, you know, we just now made abortion legal, so yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like we're moving backwards and Ireland is moving forwards. It's like, come on, you know. And while I'm so happy for Ireland, that's how it turned out. It's really frustrating. So I guess I said I was going back to his thing about how this is an issue, and it's what you said about when the moral majority and when they decided to make it, essentially it's created. It's a created issue. It's a manufactured issue.
Yeah.
And churches had no problem when Roe v. Wade was first passed in 73. In the 70s. When it was passed in the 70s. When it became law, when that court battle, Roe v. Wade, was passed, and then there was an amendment made to make abortion legal. You know, churches didn't have an issue with it. Like some Catholic churches did, like I said, but that was it. Like nobody else did, because they were like, well, that's really not the government's place anyway, right?
Yeah.
And now they've changed that, and now it's like if you belong to a particular faith, mostly any form of Christianity, you're supposed to be more to the right. You're supposed to be pro-life instead of pro-choice. And oddly pro-death penalty. I don't know. That one always strikes me as weird, but okay.
Because it is weird.
Yeah, it is weird. So
Paul asks if we're using the new lamp. Yes, we are. And it is amazing.
It is amazing. It's washing out my glasses, and it's very bright, but it is doing its job.
Thanks to Wonder Lady Faye for the suggestion of this particular model of lamp.
Yes, thank you, Wonder Lady Faye. You are amazing.
Rainbug says they were blocking hospitals.
Oh,
these idiots
that's right.
In Michigan.
No, I did hear about this. I think I tuned it out.
I missed that part. Good
yeah, they were
Lord.
blocking a hospital, like ambulances, their driveway, I think.
Oh,
I might be wrong.
sake.
Brainbug, correct me if I'm wrong. It was something. It was bad. And yeah, so what the hell? It's like, yeah, okay, fine. Go enjoy your freedom to get sick. But you need to think about, your mom and your grandma and all the people around you who might be immunocompromised. And by the way, that includes people with things like diabetes, which so many people have.
Yep.
That include, I mean, so many people will not do well. A lot of people have this notion that we're going to ride this out. Most of us are, well, and most of us are going to get it. That's just what we're trying to do by sheltering in place and by practicing social distancing, is avoid overwhelming our healthcare system. We don't want to end up where Italy ended up, where they had to triage based on who's most likely to survive. We'll give that person the respirator, and we're going to have to let this other person die in the hallway. And that's what they had to do. And those are horrible decisions. And we're going to be dealing with the stress and the PTSD and the anxiety of this long after the physical threat is over. I mean, I was listening to a podcast the other day. They were talking about the Spanish, not the Spanish. That's actually bad that Spain was the only country actually releasing information, which is how it got this misnomer. But the 1918 influenza pandemic, and that, a lot of other factors, war, crowded troops, crowded trenches. It was like the perfect storm for a pandemic to happen. But also, fiddlesticks. What was my point? They were talking about it, and they said that coming on the heels of World War II and all of that tragedy and all of that horror, World War One. Sorry, World War II was later and completely different. Thank you. I was only a history minor. Never mind. Anyway, coming on the heels of, because in 1918, coming on the heels of World War One, after people had lost so much, to lose all of these young people to this vicious disease that didn't present like the flu presents and could kill people in a matter of hours, there's almost no medical or scientific literature about the 1918 influenza flu pandemic for like until about 10 years after it happened. And the reasons people have given for that sense, that historians now give for that, is that it was such a it was a situation that was so stressful and so horrific that no one could bring themselves to write about it. Even the people who were practicing medicine at the time, and they couldn't bring themselves to go back and look at their notes and write up a paper. They just couldn't do it because it was too much. So I don't think this is going to be that bad. I don't mean to suggest that. I'm not trying to, cry the sky is falling.
Because it's all everybody's talking about all the time. And we
Yeah.
have the internet now, so there
And
will
we
be
have
a
the internet.
wealth of this sort of thing
There will be.
for historians to rely upon.
Yeah, absolutely. But I would urge all of you to go check out Forbes's, Forbes, Forbes's website. I think it's just Forbes.com, and find this article by Janet Burns. It's really good, and it goes into even more detail than I even remotely covered here. The title again is "States that use COVID-19 to ban abortion increase our risks, hardships, and fear nationwide." So please check that out. I'm also really pissed off that any politician would use something this scary, something this serious, to push a right or left wing agenda. Like, either way, fuck them. This is some bullshit. They have no business using this catastrophe to do that. It's obscene. It is absolutely obscene.
Agreed.
Yeah. Oh, what are people saying?
Let's see. Angie Dell says, never been more embarrassed to be an American than right now.
Oh, right. I know, girl. It's hard. I know.
Amiga Nut says, seems like the pro-life thing is just a badge worn by certain politicians, not necessarily Republican, to get single-issue voters.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed.
100%.
Because as many of us know, and as I'm sure most of you know, Donald Trump is on the record many, many times in his past saying he's pro-choice, and he did not actually, during the early part of his presidential campaign, he still maintained that he was pro-choice, and it wasn't until I don't know, some evil person whispered in his ear that he really had to catch that evangelical vote if he wanted a chance, that he switched that position completely and said that he was pro-life.
Yep.
He has never been pro-life a day in his more than 7 decades life on this earth. And motherfucker just swapped that out a few years ago.
Yep.
So that's a deeply held principle and conviction, right?
Paul has to go, has work to do. Catch
Bye,
you later.
Paul.
Thank you for coming
Love
by,
you, man.
Paul. Thank you for all your support.
Yes, thank you,
It
and
means
thank
the
you for
world to
the
us.
cultural questions. Those are really cool to examine and talk about. Thank you. It's like, I don't know. I'm going to try and explain why my people are crazy. I don't know what to tell you. It's so messed up. Most of my family is pro-life, although I will say this: even among my family members, most of them, if you ask them in private, and I have, that's the thing, you got to get them in private. They can't be in front of their kids, you know. But if you ask them in private, they will tell you, no, I actually don't want abortion to be criminalized. I don't want it to be illegal. And actually that comes from I do have some family members who are Catholic who absolutely believe that abortion is murder, and who are literally those people who go to the ballot with a heavy heart and vote to keep pro-choice politicians in, because they lived in the time before. They were young people before the 70s, before abortion was legal, and they saw what happened. A member of my family actually knew a young woman on her street that she went to high school with. Notice I'm being very careful not to name names here or cities, okay? But a young woman on her street got pregnant when they were in high school. Her father beat her until she miscarried, and no one ever talked about it again.
That's old school.
Yeah, so these people screaming about, oh, we're going to get Sharia law up in here. We need to get back to Jesus. That's where Jesus gets you. Okay, it's basically the same thing. You just need to remember you're trying to make it the scary Eastern religion that does the scary misogynistic shit. No, y'all. It's all of them.
All of the scary
Yeah.
religions that do the crazy misogynistic shit.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that was a heavy note. I like to end on really dark thoughts.
That was a fun stream. How are you guys doing?
How are you guys? You okay? Sorry.
What's going on with y'all?
Yeah.
Anybody got stories of delight or goofery to report? Since we have brought it down.
Yeah, we do that. I do that really well. Any shenanigans to be reported? No one is typing anything. They're like, well,
okay, we've got such a lag. We're just through StreamYard, so we can't see the YouTube chat.
Yeah,
so
sorry,
there's
guys.
A several second lag between anything that happens and when we actually see it.
They're probably like, hey, these are my shenanigans and they're my business. So.
Angie's trying to get the kids in bed.
Yeah, good luck, sweetheart.
It is getting to be that time of night, I suppose.
It is, and I bet it's harder because for them it must feel almost like they're on summer break, but not quite. Yeah. So, yeah. Good luck. Lullabies. Lullabies are good. Who am I talking to?
All right. Well, do we have final thoughts? I think we should probably wrap it up here.
Okay, yeah.
Rather than just sort of sit here and sputter.
Sure, yeah. Politicians, don't be evil, and don't use an international global health crisis to push your own bullshit, please. Can we just decide not to do that and just be human?
Yeah.
For a while? That'd be great.
Mistress Angelica's taken off. Her girlfriend is on Badger's stream.
Oh, so fantastic. Yeah, Badger has whiskey thing
Badger's
happening.
A great creator. Yeah. I love his stuff.
Badger is awesome. Badger, the WHO put out a thing saying that drinking alcohol can make COVID-19 symptoms worse, and he put out a great thing on Twitter today that said, all right, who at WHO, like, don't make us hate you any more than we already do right now. and I have to say, it needed to be said. It did. So, good on Badger.
Yes, ultimate authority. Yes, well, he also thinks he's the chosen one. So he's got. There's something wrong with that man. That man ain't right.
So many things, including.
Thank you, Mr. Shadow Kitty. It was nice hanging out with you as well.
So many things.
Shadow Kitty told us earlier that apparently that stream we were on crashed even earlier than we thought it did.
Oh.
So his guitar playing didn't go out.
Oh no, that was the best part. Okay, I'm sorry, man. Please play that again next time.
All right. Well, we'll wrap things up here then. I think I've got all the links down in the description. If for some reason you're not subscribed either to myself or to Julie LaVoice, the links in the description are there for you to remedy that.
And given how long this, how well or badly this whole furlough thing goes, I might have to start a Patreon at some point. So just throwing that out there, like, subscription is free, costs you nothing.
As do the likes.
Might get me noticed, so please do that.
Yeah.
Beg, 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 shill, shill, shill. Okay. Yeah, I'm not above begging.
Not much of us above much these days.
No, can't afford to be. All right, we love
All right.
y'all.
Love y'all. Everybody take care.
Good
Be
night.
safe. Stand against hate. And end broadcast. Yes. Check box.
I love that.